Neighbor's kids were playing outside while I was playing outside. My mom urged me to go over there and play with the other kids even though I didn't really want to. So there was a little boy and a little girl. I went over there and I asked if I could pet their dog because they were playing with their dog. They said yes, and the dog started playing with me and started licking my face. Yeah, keep that in mind. Then we started talking about the bus because we ride the same bus. We have the same bus stop. After playing with them for a while, they invited me inside. I asked my mom if I could go. She said yes. So the little boy ran into his room and then the little girl invited me to her room. So to pass time, I asked her what she does for fun. She said she plays with her brother. And then she asked if I liked animals. Obviously, I say yes, and so she asked to show me a trick. That's when she brings the dog into the room and proceeds to pull down her pants, like for part 2. This is part 2 of the Bestiality Children Next Door. Like I said, she brings her dog into the room and pulls down her pants. Totally forgot a very crucial piece of information. I was in 5th grade at the time. That's why I did what I did in these next events. So she pulls down her pants and lets the dog go at it. The same dog that licked my face previously. The dog went for it. He knew what to do. The only words that I could form was ew. She had trained this dog to do that. So after I said ew, she immediately got up and put her pants up, and she was surprised that I was grossed out like any normal human being wouldn't be. Then out of nowhere, she starts crying and I started feeling really bad, so I told her that I wouldn't tell anybody. And so she tells me I had to switch to my dog because my hamster wouldn't do it. Then she gets up and opens this drawer and proceeds to pull out a dead hamster. She says he wouldn't lick, he would only bite. She starts crying really hard and says she feels uncomfortable and she would feel better if I let the dog do what it did to her. As much as I didn't want to, I wanted her to feel comfortable, so I did it. This is part 3 of the Bestiality Children Next Door. Like I said, I gave in. I didn't know how it was supposed to feel. It felt weird, but it didn't feel good. So I stopped and she started giggling and I just felt so uncomfortable, so I wanted to go home. Then she started acting like she was annoyed and started getting really mad at me. But I was like, whatever, and so she let me leave. Well, it was a Sunday that day and the next day we had to go to school, but she wasn't at the bus stop. And so I get on the bus and I go to school that day and everything is fine. Until halfway through the school day, my mom comes to pick me up early. She would never come to pick me up early for no reason. I would usually have an appointment and I would know about it before. I would know if I was going to leave school that day and was going to get picked up, but I wasn't notified. So my mom came to pick me up, and while we were on the way home, she said that my dad had stayed home from work that day, and when we got home, we were going to have a talk about what I did with the neighbor's dog. I promise you're going to want to for part 4. This is part 4 of the Bestiality Children Next Door. Baby, that rhymed. Like I said, my mom is driving me home right now and we're gonna have a talk when we get home with my dad about what I did with the neighbor's dog. I tried to explain myself to her in the car, but she wouldn't let me talk. She didn't want me to say anything until we got home. But when we got home, it wasn't just my dad sitting in the living room. The neighbors were there. The mom, dad, and the 2 kids. So I was like, is this a setup? And the neighbor's dad is fuming. As soon as I walked into the living room, he stood up and tried to get in my face. Mind you, I was in 5th grade. He did that in front of my parents. My parents told him to back up, obviously, but there was a lot of tension. When he was in my face, he was saying, how dare you force my daughter to do that with our own dog? That's when I knew what the fuck was going on. This little fucker. Basically, after I left my neighbor's house the day before, the daughter went up to the parents and told them that I showed her the trick with the dog and forced her to do it. But this is when things take a turn, babes. This is part 5 of the Bestiality Children Next Door. Like I said, my neighbor's parents and their kids and my parents and I were all in my living room discussing about this dog situation. So I went ahead and explained myself that she was a fucking liar and that nothing that's coming out of her mouth was true and that she was just lying and lying. And the neighbor's parents weren't too happy about the fact that I was calling their daughter a liar. Then the mom just lost it and started screaming at me and going at me and just saying all these mean, terrible things. It was almost as if she had a personal problem with me. Well, baby. So I started crying really hard once the neighbor's mom started yelling at me. I don't know what that did to the neighbor's daughter, but she folded. She said, I lied. I'll tell you guys the truth. She finally admitted that it was her idea and she's the one who introduced it to me. Then once her parents expressed their disapproval, this fucking child, she says, I thought it was okay because I saw mom doing it when dad wasn't home.
Story time. My boyfriend cheated on me with my best friend. So my boyfriend and I have been dating for 2 years, but we were on and off all the time. It was a super toxic relationship. He would try to get with other girls and I would try to get with other guys to make him jealous, blah, blah, blah. Well, a week before Christmas, him and I broke up again. And I had my best friend sleep over that whole week because her parents were in Ireland. And my boyfriend lived right down the street from me. It was probably a 2-minute walk to his house. Well, for the first 3 nights, my best friend would go on a jog every night, and she would be gone for 2 hours. I would literally have to go unlock the door at 1 a.m. for her to get back in my house. Well, I think the 3rd night that she slept over, she came back in different clothes. And I realized that the sweatshirt she was wearing was my boyfriend's favorite sweatshirt. But I didn't really think anything of it because she never really showed interest in my boyfriend. But clearly I was oblivious. Anyways, So that same night, I wake up in the middle of the night and she's on the phone with someone. And it sounded exactly like my boyfriend. So I asked her who it was, but she couldn't give me an answer, like for part 2. Part 2 of how my boyfriend cheated on me with my best friend. So she told me not to worry about it, and I was like, alright, whatever. So the next day, my boyfriend shows up at my house asking to get back together. Not a surprise, by the way. And of course I said, okay, we can be back together, blah, blah, blah. So that night while I'm in my room, my best friend's on the phone, and she has her AirPods in, so I couldn't hear who it was. And she was like, okay, I'll be there in 5 minutes. And when I asked her where she was going, she wouldn't tell me. Well, she left her phone at my house. And because she usually tells me everything, I thought that something sus was going on. So I went through her phone. And I see that she's been texting this guy Jay a lot. And as I'm going through their conversation, there's one text that says, I don't care if she finds out. Just sneak over to my house while you're there. So I check the phone numbers and obviously it's my boyfriend. And her parents are really strict, like she was only supposed to be at my house that week, nowhere else. So I may have made up some stories that she had drugs in her bag and that she was forcing me to do drugs with her. So her parents came home early from their trip. They sent her to military school and I broke up with my boyfriend.
In the psych ward. Don't ask why I was in the psych ward, just know that I was there. Okay, so while I was there, we had to do these group meetings as soon as we woke up and before we went to bed. We had to wake up at like 9 a.m. in the morning. I hated it there. I was depressed. I'd always give the workers shit about going to those meetings. I was like, fuck y'all, I'm not going to those goddamn meetings. One night my stomach was hurting really bad, so they let me skip the meeting and sleep early. And I had gotten up in the middle of the night to go ask for some stomach medicine. When I walk out my room, I see this little boy standing at the end of the hall, like, and so I'm like, hello? And this motherfucker goes and starts hissing at me, like, mind you, when he went, he had scissors in his hand. I knew I could outrun that motherfucker, so I started hissing at him back. I said, yeah, motherfucker, what's up, little mail packet? Yeah, what's really going on? Then he starts going, oh. So I match his energy once again, and I start going, who the fuck is you doing that to? Then he picks up his scissors like this and charges dead at me. I zoomed out that hallway so fast. Bitch, I disappeared. Life for part 2, because it only gets worse. Part 2 of the story of me in the psych ward. So like I said, this little white boy who's like 4'8" starts chasing me down the hallway with his little chicken legs. Mind you, he had scissors in his hands. Oh, he was actually trying to kill me. You'll know why I think that in the end. So mind you, while he was chasing me, I did not look back. Not once. I didn't know if this motherfucker was gonna start climbing the walls. I don't know if he was gonna start crawling on the ceiling. My main goal was just to get away. So I eventually make it to the front desk. I look behind me to see if he was still there. Well, he wasn't, so I'm guessing that he stopped chasing me at the end of the hall. The front desk lady is looking at me like, mind you, we weren't allowed to carry scissors or even pencils or anything like that because it was dangerous. And so I didn't want to get that little boy in trouble, so I just told her like, no, I'm good. I just need medicine. Well, eventually they did end up finding him with the scissors anyways and took it away from him, but baby shit back. The next morning, everybody came out for breakfast and these workers were dragging the same little boy out of his room and he was like kicking and screaming and all of that. Well, turns out he stole another pair of scissors in the middle of the night, stabbed another kid in his sleep. Part 3 of the story of me in the psych ward. So like I said, this same little boy who was chasing me last night with a pair of scissors had sneaked into another kid's room in the middle of the night and stabbed him in his sleep. This little boy's goal was to harm. And it could have easily been me. And I was over there fucking around with that kid talking about, hissing at him because he was hissing at me. I could have died. What if I couldn't have outran him? I would have gotten stabbed. Be a quick story time of how my parents found my OnlyFans. So I had just recently broken up with my boyfriend and my friends were trying to find ways to make me feel better. They were trying to tell me to go on Tinder and all these other dating apps to find a new man. I didn't want to find a new man more than I wanted to make him jealous. And so my friends were telling me a good way to get back at him is to post myself with another man. But I had a better idea. I was going to make an OnlyFans and I was going to tell his friends about it and let them subscribe for free. And it did work. He sent me a big paragraph going off on me about it. I thought it was really funny, but anyways. So I had left one night with my friends, they were just trying to take me out and make me feel a little bit better, just to try to make me feel better and get the recent breakup off my head. And I was living at home at the time. I had just turned 18. My parents were really strict and they didn't even know that I had a boyfriend. So while I'm out with my friends, I get a text message from my mom telling me to get home now. I'm asking her what's going on and she's telling me that I just need to get home because we need to talk. And so once I get home, I open the front door. I walk into the living room and my ass was spread open right on the TV screen. Gonna be part 2 of how my parents found my OnlyFans. So I get home from hanging out with my friends and I see my OnlyFans on the TV screen. My mom is acting like she just saw the Holy Ghost. My dad is shaking his head, just mad disappointed. For some reason, my little brother was sitting over there on the couch. And I'm like, what are y'all doing? What is this? Why would you put it on the TV? Our TV was a smart touchscreen TV and you could connect your phone to the TV, but I didn't understand why it was on the TV screen with my little brother right there. My mom's yelling at me like, so is this what we are? Is this what we do? She's telling me if I'm going to be acting grown, then I'm gonna have to find a different place to stay because I'm not about to represent our family like this. So I told her that it was just a quick way for me to make money, and she told me that I was lying. And then she proceeded to show me a text message that she got from my boyfriend telling her that I had let his friends subscribe for free. And